Page 110, Peter, and Peter is the class clown. We finally earned our class reward, or almost. I really hoped Mr. T would come through for us about going outside, so I shot my hand up as soon as class started the next day. What is it now, Peter? Mr. T said. Have you thought about us going outside? The school rule says we can't go out in the snow. We can go out in the blacktop, but it's too crowded and there's nothing to do. Everyone was quiet. They listened because they knew I was right. Well, Peter, I like how you're thinking ahead. I did talk to Mrs. Williams, and she gave us special permission to go out in the snow as long as everyone has snow pants and hats and gloves and boots. She gave us special permission even after we all saw her underwear? I said. Yes, Mr. T said, trying to move us past the giggles that had started. Permission for the snow? I asked again, just to make sure I had it right. In the snow, Mr. T said. The key being everyone needs to bring their stuff, or else we can't go out. I couldn't believe it. When I went to bed that night, I had visions of snowballs dancing in my head. It was going to be the best class party day ever. The next chapter is Jessica, the new girl. Act 7, Scene 1. The class bubbled with energy. Mr. Terupt had just attached the last link needed for our paper chain to touch the floor. The links were hard to come by with the likes of Peter and Alexi in our classroom, but we did it. Congratulations, you've earned your free day, Mr. Terupt said. A class party day. Peter couldn't believe it. No one could, really, but Peter was beside himself. The only thing he could wrap his brain around was going outside to play in the snow. Don't forget to bring your snow stuff, California girl, he said to me. I didn't need reminding. It was all I could think about, but not because I was excited. Act 7, Scene 2. I raised my hand tentatively and waited for Mr. Terupt to call on me. It was nearly time to go home. I couldn't wait any longer. You have a question, Jessica? Yes, sort of, I said. I have a problem. I don't have any snow pants. I didn't need them in California. Silence. It was like I sucked all the excitement out of the classroom with a gigantic vacuum hose. Peter glared at me. I couldn't look at him. Then I saw Luke raise his hand. Mr. Terupt called on him. Lukester! I have a pair of snow pants Jessica can borrow. They're my sister's old ones. That a baby, Lukester! Piper yipped. Saved! Thanks, Lukester. That's very nice of you, Mr. Terupt said, looking in my direction. I'm sure Jessica will take them. I could only nod. Yes! Peter yelled. This is gonna be great! I thought so too, especially after Luke's generosity. I always thought Luke only cared about himself. Maybe I was wrong to prejudge him. Mr. Terupt sat at his desk, smiling. He reminded me of the old professor in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Did he know everything? The next chapter is Luke, the brain. 27 links. That's how many it took for the chain to hit the floor. I was wrong. I estimated 26. Mr. Terupt had us estimate the final number when we had only had 5. Most everybody jotted down random guesses, but I took a ruler, measured the length of what we had, and then had the length left to reach the floor. The real problem was that the links were all different sizes, a variable that I couldn't control. I averaged the links that were hanging and used that to help me come up with the 26. All right, gang, Mr. Terupt said. 27 links. Let's see if anybody guessed that. We had all our guesses stuffed into an empty coffee can. I was hoping to be the closest. Maybe nobody got it right. He pulled our little scraps of paper out one by one. 21, 30, dollar word, 50. Everyone laughed except for me. 23, aha, he said. Here's one, 27. I lost. I can't believe I was wrong. And the winner is Anna. She must have guessed. There's no way she could have figured that out. Anna walked right up to Mr. Terupt with her head held high. At least the winner wasn't Peter or Alexia. "Congratulations, Anna," Mr. Terupt said. He handed her a homework pass. She was all smiles. "I didn't need one of those anyway." "Yay, Anna," Jessica said. "Way to go." "But wait," Mr. Terupt said. "There seems to be one more estimate that's correct." "Maybe it's Luke's," I heard someone whisper. "Drum roll, please," Mr. Terupt said. "And the second winner is Peter." No way! I screamed inside my head. Of course, Peter made a major production of walking to the front of the room and making a dramatic bow. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you. This is a great honor." Mr. Terupt handed him a homework pass. "Get out of here," he said. Everyone laughed except for me. Peter flashed his homework pass in my face. The Elmer's sneakers didn't bother me, but this did. I felt hot. My face and ears burned. I turned lobster red. I could feel it. "I'm going to get even," I thought. "The chain has touched the floor," Mr. Terupt announced. "It's time for a free day." My colleagues, $word, and I were in for a treat. Mr. Terupt told us that we would be going outside. Great, I thought. But what's the catch? Was he going to tell us to bring our shovels, $word, to find out how many scoops it would take to clear the parking lot? Nope, just snow boots, hats, pants, mittens, $word. He had the okay from Mrs. Williams to play in the snow as long as everyone had the proper snow clothes. Jessica threw us for a curveball, and boy was it a bender. She didn't have snow pants. Talk about hitting us with the unexpected. So who comes to the rescue? Me! I had to. Plus, I liked Jessica. She was serious about school, and I didn't want to miss the chance to inoculate, $word, Peter with a snowball. The next chapter is Jeffrey, the slacker. "It's not your fault." That was what Jessica had said to me. And that was what I kept repeating in my head. The only other person to ever tell me that was Michael. It was just before he died. I have a hard time believing it, but his words still make me feel a little better. I need his words and Jessica's, because I know Mom and Dad blame me. They sure don't love me. Why else are they so silent? They don't speak to me. Rarely, and they never speak to each other. Dad has started going to work again, but Mom mopes around the house. She hasn't been out of her pajamas since Michael's funeral. Christmas was tough, again this year. It was our second one without Michael. Not that we celebrated either time. Dad got a tree this year, though. It showed up one day in our living room. I put a few decorations on it. Mom pretended it wasn't there. Now we are in the month of February. This chapter is Peter, the class clown. I ran into the classroom. "Does everybody have their stuff?" I yelled. Mr. T looked up from his desk. "Calm down, Peter," he said. "Does everyone have their stuff?" I said again, still excited. "Calm down," Mr. T said again. "Take a breath." I took a deep breath. Then, in a normal voice, I said, "Does everyone have their stuff?" "I think so," Mr. T said. "Let's go then. Let's go," I said. "We'll go out later, Peter. Besides, we need to take attendance, lunch count, and listen to morning announcements." Mr. T also figured if we went out and got soaking wet first thing, we'd be miserable for the rest of the day. He had a good point, but I still wanted to get outside. We spent the morning spread out all over the place playing different games. I played categories with Mr. T, Luke, and Jeffrey. The letter B came up on the dice. We raced through putting down our ideas, and then it was time to share. We took turns going down the list, and then the item, things at the beach, came up. Jeffrey shared, then Luke, then Mr. T. Then it was my turn, and I leaned in and I said, "Babes." "Who brings babies to the beach?" Luke said. "Not babies, babes," Jeffrey said. I almost died. But wait, it gets better. Our very own brainiac, Luke, just sat there watching us laugh. Then he said, "What do you mean?" Can you believe that? He didn't know babes. I freaked. Holy smokes, I said. What rock are you living under? Mr. T jumped in at that point. Easy, Peter, Mr. T said. Lots of girls don't appreciate that term. It sounds as if you don't respect them. And part of being a man is knowing how to respect women. Oh, Luke said. Girls! His light bulb had suddenly turned on. Mr. T looked at me and smiled, shaking his head. Mr. T's the best, I thought. That was the last time I got to hang out with him. The next chapter is Luke, the brain. Peter thought he was so smart all of a sudden. He won a homework pass off of a lucky guess, and he confused me in categories. Big deal. I resolved, dollar word, to get him. The next chapter, Jeffrey, the slacker. Never thought I'd play a game with my teacher, but I did. I played categories with Terupt and Luke and Peter and learned that even I'm smarter than Luke at some things, but that doesn't make him out to be a bad kid, just a dork. As smart as he is, Luke doesn't make a stink about it. I like him for that. But Peter, sometimes he gets on my nerves. He's always doing stuff and never gets in trouble. I knew he was just waiting to get outside. I had a surprise for him. It would have been better if I never got involved. If I just stayed hating school, none of this would have happened. The next chapter is Peter, the class clown. Finally, we were outside. The snow was perfect. The kind that packed and formed super snowballs. I scooped up a handful as we walked towards the field, squeezing it over and over. No snowballs, Mr. T had told us before coming out. We reached the corner and I stuffed the snowball in my pocket. It was too perfect to just toss it out. It wasn't like I was going to throw it. I ran out onto the untouched field. The field was perfect too. There was a mountain of snow right in the middle that we climbed up. I was already standing at the top when I saw Lexi making her way up to the side. I thought about how she'd been really quiet lately, like she was down in the dumps. Maybe that's why I thought knocking her into the snow would snap her out of the trance. Without thinking it through, something I never do anyway, I slid down the side and gave her a little shove. She tumbled backwards. I laughed hard. She didn't. I ran toward a smaller mound of snow. That's how the game got started. Everyone joined in. Running back and forth between the two mounds, we knocked each other down and we ran and we wrestled each other off the tops. I'm not sure how it happened, but somehow I got knocked down. I was watching out for Lexi when somebody shoulder checked me from behind. I fell off the mountain and landed on my belly. Lexi came running over and kicked snow in my face. I was fuming. It's one thing to knock each other down, but kicking snow in somebody's face? That's just wrong. I was angry. I got on my knees and bam! I got knocked down on my face again. Now I was fuming and steaming. I pushed myself up to see who did it when bam! Same thing happened. This time the person held my face down. I was so mad I jumped up, pulled that snowball out of my pocket and chucked it for all it was worth. The next chapter is Jessica, the new girl. Act 8, Scene 1. You could hear our big, heavy snow boots thumping down the sidewalk until we turned the corner and dashed out onto the field. A monstrous hill of snow loomed right in the middle. Naturally, we all sprinted toward it and clambered to the top. Then we jumped, taking the plunge into waist-deep, powdery snow. It didn't take long for the boys started taking each other down. Peter seized the opportunity and sent Alexia flying down the side of the mountain. She landed on her back, all splayed out. Peter laughed and ran. Alexia sat up, and I could tell how mad she was by the lines that contorted her face. Suddenly, I thought of a way to get Peter. He wouldn't expect me. He'd be keeping his eyes on Alexia, expecting her to retaliate. I collared Danielle and Anna. Here's what we're going to do, I said. It wasn't a suggestion, more like I simply told them how my ingenious plan would be executed. Act 8, Scene 2. We hid behind the mountain of snow. Peter came running toward us and scampered right up the side. While Peter stood on top like king of all dorks, we snuck up the backside of the hill. Danielle threw her shoulder into Peter, knocking him off balance. He wavered. I blasted him with my shoulder, coming from the opposite direction. Anna gave the last little nudge from behind. The 1, 2, 3 punch was too much for Peter to handle. He squawked like a dying seagull as he flailed through the air, landing face down. Alexia ran over and kicked snow in his face the instant he picked his head up. Danielle, Anna, and I had just reached the other mound when we turned around and saw Peter fire the snowball. The next chapter is Luke, the brain. Alexia kicked snow in Peter's face. He griped and whined as he sat up to wipe the snow from his eyes. "Let's get him, Luke, sir," Jeffrey said. I felt like a couple of snipers, dollar word, sizing up our target. Jeffrey slid down the smaller mound, hurried across the snow, and shoved Peter's face back into the white powder. Peter never saw it coming, and Jeffrey was long gone by that time. Peter sat up to wipe his face again. That was when I attacked. I blasted him from behind, knocking him down, and held his face into the snow extra long. This reversal, dollar word, of typical roles, with me being the victor, felt awesome. It was one of the greatest upsets of all time, dollar word. My victory celebration lasted only a second before everything was shattered, dollar word. Jeffrey, the slacker. Peter had it coming. I got him good, and so did Lukester. They say all's fair in war. Peter's not a crybaby, but all of us ganging up on him was too much. He got crazy upset and chucked that ice ball. Anna, the shy one. I didn't want anyone to get hurt. Danielle, the pushover. Why did I get along with Jessica's plan? I could have said no. I should have said no. It was supposed to be fun. We were all getting pushed into the snow. Peter would have knocked any of us down. He's always fooling around. It was supposed to be funny. How could it turn out so bad? Jessica, the new girl. Act 8, Scene 3. I don't think any of us were malicious in our attacks on Peter. It was the sudden onslaught that made him throw that snowball. We didn't know, and I started it. Luke, the brain. I was running away from Peter, so I didn't actually see it. I saw something else. The twisted, dollar word, faces of Danielle and Anna and Jessica. Peter, the class clown. I didn't know Mr. T was going to be right there. Danielle, the pushover. Mr. Terupt stood up right in the way. Jessica, the new girl. I still remember Alexia's scream, piercing, horrified. Peter, the class clown. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Luke, the brain. Mr. Terupt should have stopped us. He let it go too far. Peter, the class clown. I wish I could take it back. I didn't mean to throw it. Anna, the shy one. Please, let my teacher be okay. Danielle, the pushover. Dear God, it's Danielle. I really need you down here. Mr. Terupt needs you. And that's the end of part 1.